Okay, you have your NFL Super Bowl prediction, the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Definitely the teams everybody wanted. So starting with the Kansas City Chiefs, they're coming off a championship win over the Buffalo Bills. There's definitely some controversy around that game to say the least. But the Chiefs, I think they outplayed the Bills regardless if the refs helped them win or not. I think the Chiefs outplayed them. Playoff Patrick Mahomes is a completely different animal. He played a very good game versus a very good defense. And I think that Chiefs defense, similar story, has played better in the playoffs compared to the regular season where they were kind of overrated a little bit and weren't the greatest defense. But I think in the playoffs they played good enough, especially when it mattered most. Um, Kelsey had a great game in the divisional round, not so great last week, but like I said, playoff Kelsey is also different. But I think the Chiefs, their players have stepped up, especially Xavier Worthy in the playoffs in the last like 4 or 5 weeks. I think he stepped up big. Chris Jones, obviously, the whole defensive line has stepped up big. The Chiefs, they've been in this position before, actually last year. So the Chiefs, they know how to handle the pressure. While the Eagles, they've also been here last week, or been here before last week against the Commanders. They played a very good game as well. They're led by Saquon Barkley, but Jalen Hurts really showed that he could play. He had a very good game versus the Commanders. Although the Commanders not the best team ever, they're not a bad team. They're the divisional rival. But Eagles, they're led by Saquon. Their offensive line is good, but has been injured, so that is definitely something to look at to see if their center Jurgens will be coming back. They definitely need Leighton Johnson, like not at the center, because they had a couple of not so great snaps. Wide receivers are good, and their defense has been one of the best this season. So this one, both these teams are very good. Looking position by position, I think obviously quarterback advantage goes to the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, he plays great in the playoff. But Jalen Hurts also has a plays pretty well in the playoffs. Last Super Bowl, the last time they were in a Super Bowl, Hurts played a great game against the Commanders. He played a great game, so definitely advantage to Mahomes, but definitely not a weakness for the Eagles. And running back, you gotta take Saquon. You gotta take Saquon. He's the best right now. Hunt isn't bad, and Pacheco has been kind of injured, but Hunt's not bad. But Saquon is one of a kind. Wide receivers also giving it to the Eagles here. AJ Brown has had a slow postseason, but he can turn it up at any moment. And like I said, for the Chiefs, Xavier Worthy has played better, but they just don't. They're just not as talented. And then looking at tight end, you still have Kelsey. He's still great, but Dallas Goedert has also played very well in the playoffs. So I think I'm going to give the slight advantage to Kelsey here, but Goddard has also held his own. And then that offensive line, I think the Chiefs have actually a very underrated offensive line. I think their interior off three is the best in the league with Creed, Tooney, and Trey Smith. The tackles are kind of a weakness, but I wouldn't say the tackles are that bad. While the Eagles, like I said, I usually give the advantage to the Eagles. They have like a top five offensive line when healthy, but their line is kind of injured right now. So I'm going to give the advantage to the Chiefs. But overall, I think the Eagles have a more talented offense. And then looking at their defense, defensive line, I think the Eagles definitely have a more well-rounded defensive line, especially with Jalen Carter lighting it up. While the Chiefs also have a very good defensive line as well, especially with other players stepping up. So I call it a wash, especially with Chris Jones there. Linebackers also both very good. They both have their stars in Zach Bond and Nick Bolton. Just overall pretty good. Secondary, both have talent, but just based off the way they played this year, I gotta give it to the Eagles. Special teams, definitely the Chiefs. Jake Elliott has been questionable at best. Butker has been pretty good, and that Chiefs kick return and punt return, I know is gonna play a huge part in the Super Bowl. I'm gonna call it right now. That Chiefs special teams gonna play a big part. And then coaching, obviously, you gotta give it to Andy Reid. He's reaching that goat territory in terms of coaching. Chiefs definitely have the advantage there. Overall, I think Eagles definitely have the talent. Definitely have way more talent than the Chiefs. Even though the Chiefs have been here before, just based off this season playing close games, I think they're eventually gonna slip up. And I think it might be in the Super Bowl. The Eagles, they've been playing great football. Their defense has been great. Their offense has been great. They have way too much talent. So I gotta take the Eagles here. It's going to be a tight game, and I expect a faster start from the Chiefs than the Eagles. But I think the Eagles, Saquon gets better as he plays more. So I think Saquon's gonna break one in the fourth quarter, and the Eagles are gonna win it 29-26. So there you have my NFL Super Bowl predictions.